Hi everybody, welcome to Rain Shadows channel, where stories whisper with the rain. Before we begin, make sure everything is ready for a deep sleep. Close your eyes, relax your body, and let your mind drift with each tale. Don't forget to like and subscribe channel so you won't miss the next video. Now come with me into the darkness.
My name is Daniel. I've never really believed in bad luck or cursed objects or any of those creepy stories people love to share online. I've always thought weird things only happen to people looking for them. You know, ghost hunters, abandoned buildings, Ouija boards, that kind of thing. Me, I just wanted a nice apartment, a quiet space to work, and a little bit of peace. I moved in about 2 months ago. Nothing fancy, just a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building downtown. High ceilings, wooden floors, soft, yellow lights, everything about the place felt warm and safe. I work from home, freelance designer, so I spend a lot of time in my little world. Late nights, music in the background, tea on the desk, projects spread everywhere. I loved it. Still do, in a way. Or I did, until the clock. There's this tiny antique store a few streets over, the kind of place that smells like old paper and dust. I wasn't even looking for a clock, but it caught my eye. Round, wooden frame, gold hands, glass face just a little scratched like it's lived a life before me. It looked perfect, vintage, charming. I bought it on a whim and hung it right in the living room, the first thing you'd see when walking in. During the day, it worked like any other clock, steady, reliable, comfortable background noise, tick, tick, tick. And then one night, I noticed something. It was late, around 2 a.m. I'd been working for hours, zoning out like usual. When I stretched and glanced over at the clock, I realized something strange. The time didn't look right. It said 11:58. But I could have sworn, just a few minutes ago, it was already past midnight. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I read it wrong. I watched the second hand. Tick, tick, straight up to 12. And then it hesitated, just for a breath, and started moving, backwards. At first I laughed, thought maybe the battery was dying. Cheap old thing from a dusty little store. Of course it's acting weird, but this wasn't skipping. This wasn't broken. It was smooth, deliberate. Every second stepping backwards like it was supposed to, slow, steady, unbothered. I stared at it for a long time, then it hit 11:55, and just like that, the hand stopped, paused for a few seconds, then clicked forward again, perfectly normal. Like nothing had happened. Like it had never moved backwards at all. I shook it off, changed the battery the next day, reset the time, forgot about it. For a while, until a few nights later, when I stayed up late again. Same time, same glance, same slow, perfect reversal of time. Right after midnight, like it was waiting for me to see it. And that was just the beginning. After that night, I paid more attention. At first, it almost felt like a game. Every night, right after midnight, I'd glance at the clock. And every night, without fail, the same thing happened. The second hand would hesitate, then slowly begin to move backwards. Then the minute hand, then the hour. Always calm, always controlled, like it wasn't broken at all. Like that's exactly what it was supposed to do. I told myself it was weird, sure, but not dangerous. Not something worth freaking out over. Not until I started losing things, not things I could touch, not keys, not my wallet, but moments. Little pieces of time. Gone. It started small. One night I made tea, set the kettle, watched the clock hit midnight, watched it turn backwards like always. And when I blinked, really just blinked, the tea was cold, untouched, like I'd forgotten about it for an hour. But I knew I hadn't, because I never heard the kettle whistle, because I never even left my desk. Another night, it was my design file. I'd been working for hours on a client project, layers stacked, edits done, perfect. Then midnight. Then that slow, careful reversal of time. And when I looked back at my screen, the file was gone, not saved. Like I'd never touched it, even though I knew I had, even though my brain remembered doing it. But the computer didn't, the file didn't, the world didn't. The worst was my phone. Text conversations mid-sentence, wiped clean. Photos I knew I took that evening just missing. Gone like they never existed. Every night it happened, right after midnight. Right after the clock moved backward. Like something was quietly peeling back time, just enough to mess with me, just enough to steal tiny pieces of my life. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was careful, precise. Like whatever force lived in that clock didn't want me to notice too fast, didn't want me to panic. Not yet. But the moment that finally broke me was when it touched me directly. It was about 2 a.m. Another late night. Another quiet apartment. I glanced at the clock, already rolling back its usual slow rewind, and when I looked back at my hands, they were wet, sticky, dark red. Tomato sauce? No. Blood. Fresh. Smeared across my fingertips like I'd touched something I didn't remember touching. Something sharp. Something alive. I rushed to the bathroom, checked my arms, my face. Nothing. Not a scratch, not a cut. But sitting on the edge of the sink was my kitchen knife. Clean, dry, perfectly placed like I'd never used it. Except I didn't remember putting it there. Didn't remember touching it. Didn't remember anything at all. Whatever that clock was doing, it wasn't just turning back time. It was pulling pieces of me with it and leaving the rest behind. I stopped trusting myself after that night. Stopped trusting my hands, my memories, my own damn mind. It felt like pieces of me were slipping away right under my nose. Like I'd blink and lose 10 minutes or 30 or an hour. Time just peeled off me. Quiet, gentle, clean. But I needed proof. Something outside of my own head. Something I could see. So I set up a camera. Nothing fancy. Just an old phone propped up on a shelf facing my desk and the clock on the wall. Simple idea. I'd record the night. Record the clock turning backwards. Record myself just sitting there. Not moving, not doing anything strange. That's what I thought. That's what I hoped. I hit record around 11 p.m. Sat at my desk like normal. Worked on client stuff. Kept glancing at the clock. Kept waiting. And sure enough, midnight came, and that the clock did what it always did. Smooth, steady, backward. Everything else felt normal. No lost time, no blank moments, just me. Awake, focused, alert. The next morning, I checked the footage, fast-forwarded to midnight. Watched the clock hands hit 12. Watched them hesitate, watched them start to rewind. And then I watched myself sit there, still, breathing, blinking, perfectly normal for about 30 seconds, until I moved, not slowly, not casually, like automatically, like a puppet with its strings pulled tight. I stood up, pushed the chair back, walked away from the desk, out of frame, out of sight, into the darkness of my apartment. No hesitation, no sound, no reason. The video kept rolling, but I didn't come back, not for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. And then I walked back in, same blank, robotic movement, sat down like nothing had happened, picked up my mouse, started working again. I stared at the screen for a long, long time. My stomach felt hollow, dead cold. Because I didn't remember standing up, didn't remember leaving, didn't remember moving at all. And the scariest part wasn't what I did off camera, it was what I looked like when I came back. There was something off. My movements too perfect, too smooth, too careful. Like I wasn't used to this body, like I was learning how to sit, how to hold myself, how to be me. But the thing that really broke me was that for the last second, just before I sat back down, I looked directly at the camera, dead still, dead empty, and smiled. Not wide, not crazy, just small, subtle, confident. Like whatever had walked into that frame, knew I was watching, didn't care. I threw the clock away the next day, didn't even hesitate, didn't care how much I paid for it, didn't care how nice it looked on the wall. I ripped it down hard enough to crack the glass and stuffed it in a garbage bag like it was radioactive. Walked 3 blocks down to the public dumpster, tossed it in, gone, done, finished. That night, I slept like a rock for the first time in weeks. No backwards ticking, no blank spots in my memory, no moving without knowing, no smiling when I shouldn't be. For a while, things got better. The world felt normal again. Days passed, work piled up like it always did. Nights got quiet again. I almost believed it was over. Until last night. It was late. I was sitting at my desk in my new apartment. Different space, different energy, fresh start. I wasn't even thinking about the clock anymore. Wasn't looking for anything weird. Wasn't afraid. And then my computer screen flickered. Just for a second, barely noticeable. The digital clock in the corner blinked. 12 a.m., normal. Except it didn't stop. It blinked again. Then glitched. And when it came back, it said 11:59, backwards, just like before. I froze, watched the numbers roll back. 11:58, 11:57. Smooth, calm, perfect. The lights flickered next, then went out completely. Total darkness. Except for the faint glow of my monitor, frozen mid-glitch. and in the black screen reflecting back at me, I saw movement, behind me, slow, careful. I turned. Nothing there. Empty room, empty air. But in the faint shine of the screen, I could see something else, a shape, right over my shoulder, close, too close. It didn't move like a shadow, it didn't move like a person. It stood there, waiting, like time itself had folded wrong. Like something was standing just barely outside of what I could see, just enough to let me know it was there. And when the power came back, when the lights flickered on, I looked at the wall above my desk, at the brand new clock I'd bought. Simple, modern, digital, safe, or so I thought. Because etched faintly, almost invisible unless you stood real close, was a tiny line of text, scratched into the frame like it had always been there. Old words, patient words, words I will never forget. Time always finds a way back, and somewhere deep inside me, I knew. The clock was never the problem, it was time itself, watching, waiting, learning, finding new ways in, counting backwards, 1 second at a time. My name is Kevin, and honestly, I've always lived online. It's part of who I am, part of what I do. My job's fully remote, freelance marketing, mostly social media work for small brands, which means I spend way too much time scrolling, replying, posting, editing, checking analytics, basically living in the digital world more than I live in the real one. I like it that way. It's comfortable, predictable, safe. That's probably why, at first, I didn't think much of it when I got the notification. You've been tagged in a photo. Happens all the time. Usually some friend digging up an old party pic or posting a meme with my face badly photoshopped onto a chicken nugget. But this was different. The username was unfamiliar, no profile pic, just a random string of letters and numbers. But curiosity's a stupid thing, so I tapped it open. And that's when I froze. Because it was me, standing in the middle of a graveyard, at night. Dark all around me except for a faint, cold wash of moonlight. I wasn't smiling, wasn't posing, wasn't even looking at the camera. My head was bowed slightly like I'd been caught mid-thought, and worst of all, my eyes were shut. The kind of photo nobody could fake easily. The kind of photo someone takes when you don't know they're there. But I had never, not once in my life, been to a cemetery like that. Not recently. Not ever. And yet, it was me. Same haircut, same jacket, even the tiny rip on the sleeve I'd been too lazy to fix. For a second, I thought it was some weird prank. An edit, maybe. Someone grabbing a photo from my socials and slapping it onto a creepy background. But the details were too sharp, too perfect. The angle of my hands in my pockets. The specific way my shoulders hunched when I was tired. Things nobody but me would notice. And the longer I stared at it, the colder I felt. Because that wasn't just any graveyard. I zoomed in. Hard to see. Blurry in the background, but clear enough if you knew what to look for. That wasn't a stock image. That wasn't fake. That was the old cemetery on the other side of town. Near the woods. A place I had never ever set foot in. A place I had only passed by in a car late at night. Maybe once or twice in my life. And here I was, standing right in the middle of it. Alone. Eyes closed, as if I belonged there. I told myself to forget it. Just some internet weirdo messing around. Some glitch in the system. A random photo taken God knows when at God knows where, edited by someone with way too much time on their hands. That's what I wanted to believe. But then it happened again. A few nights later, almost like clockwork, another notification popped up. You've been tagged in a photo. Same account, same random string of letters and numbers, same empty profile. And the photo was worse. Because this time, I wasn't standing in some faraway cemetery I'd never been to. This time, I was sitting on the steps of what looked like an abandoned train station. Old, cracked concrete, vines growing over rusted metal. Nighttime again. Same faint glow from some unseen light source. And me, sitting there like I had nowhere else in the world to be. Elbows on my knees, head down, eyes closed. Exactly the same posture as the first photo. Except this place looked familiar. I stared at it for a long time, tracing every broken tile, every detail in the crumbling wall, until I realized exactly where it was. It was on the edge of town, maybe 20 minutes from where I lived. A place I'd driven past 100 times without giving it a second thought. But I had never been there. Not once. Not at night, not alone, and definitely not like that. That's when I started to feel watched. Not in the obvious way. Not like someone staring at me through a window, but that itch in the back of your mind. That weird weight you feel when you're scrolling in bed at 2 a.m. and suddenly realize your apartment feels just a little too quiet, a little too still. Like maybe you're not actually alone. The photos kept coming, not every day, not every night, but often enough that it started to feel personal. Sometimes it was me standing at the edge of the woods, sometimes leaning against a broken fence in some forgotten back alley, always nighttime, always alone, always with my eyes closed, and every single photo was tagged from that same account. No caption, no message, just my name, like a reminder, like proof. Like someone wanted me to know. They knew where I was, or maybe worse, where I was going to be. But then came the photo that really broke me. Not because of where it was, but because of how close it had gotten. I opened my phone one night, half afraid, half expecting it, and there it was. Another tag, another picture. And this time, I was standing at the end of my own street, right in front of the small coffee shop I walked past every single day. Same posture, same closed eyes, like I had been standing there for hours, waiting, patient. And the distance between that coffee shop and my apartment. Less than 2 minutes. Whatever this thing was, whatever this person was doing, they weren't watching me from far away anymore. They were getting closer. And they were getting bold. I stopped trying to ignore it after that last photo. Stopped pretending it was just some internet prank. Stopped telling myself it didn't mean anything. Because whoever or whatever was behind those pictures, they weren't just watching me. They were following me, moving closer, every time, step by step, until there was nowhere left to go. The next few days were some of the worst I've ever lived through. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every sound in my apartment felt louder. Every shadow felt wrong. Every notification on my phone made my stomach twist. I even messaged a few friends, tried to joke about it, tried to make it sound less terrifying than it really was. But saying it out loud didn't help. It only made it feel more real. And then it happened. The worst photo. The one I still can't explain. The one I still think about every single night before I lock my door twice and triple check every window. It was a Tuesday, late, quiet. I was scrolling my phone in bed, lights off, curtains drawn, that horrible empty silence filling my apartment again, when I saw it. A new notification. You've been tagged in a photo. I hesitated, didn't want to look, didn't want to know. But I tapped it anyway, and my blood ran cold. Because there I was, standing right outside my own apartment building, directly in front of the door. Same posture, same angle, same empty expression, except this time. The photo wasn't taken from the front, it was taken from behind me. From somewhere just a few steps back, like whoever took it had been standing right there. So close. So impossibly close. I checked the timestamp, 2 minutes ago, right before I got into bed, right before I locked the door. I jumped up, heart racing so hard it hurt. Ran to the window, nothing. Ran to the peephole, empty hallway. Pulled up my building's security camera on my phone. One of those motion sensor apps I'd installed months ago and barely ever checked. Skipped back to the last alert, played the clip, and there I was, walking up to my door, alone. Except, just for a second, just at the very edge of the frame, a shape, too still, too tall, standing perfectly straight behind me, as if waiting for me to go inside, as if knowing exactly where I'd be. That night I barely slept, phone face down, blanket over my head like a child hiding from the monster in the closet. Except this wasn't some monster. This was someone, or something, who knew my face, knew my routine, knew exactly where I lived. And worst of all, they weren't in the pictures anymore. They were right here, outside my door, maybe already inside. I didn't leave my apartment the next day, didn't go to work, didn't check emails, didn't even touch my phone unless I absolutely had to. I just sat there on the floor, back pressed to the wall, like that could somehow keep me safe. I told myself it would pass. Told myself people like me don't end up in stories like this. People like me, who scroll too much, post too much, live too much online, we don't get haunted, we get hacked, we get spammed, we don't get followed. But that night, right around 2 a.m, there was a sound at my door. Soft, not knocking, not scratching, just the sound of something sliding. Paper maybe, being pushed under the door. My heart stopped, completely. For a long time I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just sat there staring at that small slip of white poking out from the gap beneath my door. Eventually, against every screaming part of my brain, I reached for it, picked it up, turned it over. One sentence, handwritten, messy, barely legible. Look behind you. I didn't. Not right away. I sat there for what felt like forever, frozen. But when I finally built up enough nerve to turn, slow, shaking, skin crawling, there was nothing. No one. Empty apartment. Silent walls. But when I turned back to my phone, there it was. Another notification. You've been tagged in a photo. My hands were ice, fingers barely working, but I tapped it open. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd never looked, because this time the picture was inside my apartment, inside my bedroom, taken from somewhere near the foot of my bed, facing me, sleeping, blanket half twisted, phone charging on the nightstand, my face relaxed in a way you only are when you have no idea something is watching you, no idea something is standing right there, right beside you. The caption? Just 2 words, finally inside. That was 2 nights ago. I haven't left since, haven't slept properly either. Not really. Every sound feels like footsteps. Every shadow feels like a figure waiting. And worst of all, I know the next photo is coming. Not one from outside. Not one from the street. Not even one from my doorway. But from closer. Too close. Maybe inches away. Maybe already taken. Maybe already waiting to be sent. Maybe it's already on my phone. Right now. Waiting for me to look. Waiting for me to tap that notification. One last time. My name is Adam, and honestly, I've always thought of myself as a pretty logical person. Not the superstitious type, not the jumpy type, just regular. Someone who believes most things in life have an explanation if you look hard enough. Maybe that's why when I first moved into this apartment, I didn't think much of how quiet it was. Almost too quiet. It's a small place, old building, thin walls, some creaks in the floorboards when I walk too fast. The occasional sound of pipes knocking when the neighbour upstairs runs their shower late at night. But nothing unusual, nothing worth worrying about. If anything, I liked it. After years of living with roommates, noise, constant movement, this place felt like peace, like stillness, like mine. The first night I slept there, I fell asleep fast. No city noise, no traffic, just the kind of silence that presses in around you, comfortable at first. Until you suddenly notice just how complete it really is. But sometime around 3 a.m. I woke up. Not fully, just enough to float somewhere between sleep and awareness. And that's when I heard it. Very soft, very close, like it was waiting for the exact moment my brain wasn't quite awake, but wasn't fully asleep either. A voice, right next to me. No, not next to me. From inside the wall, just behind my bed, a single word, simple, whispered, deliberate. Hello. It wasn't loud. It wasn't harsh. In fact, the way it sounded, it almost felt patient, like someone testing their voice after not speaking for a very long time. I froze, didn't move, didn't even open my eyes at first, tried to convince myself it was a dream, some weird trick of my half-sleeping brain. But I was awake, fully awake now, heart pounding hard in my chest, and still, silence, nothing else, no footsteps, no other sounds, just that word, hanging in the dark, like it was still floating somewhere between the paint and the brick. The next morning, I told myself I imagined it. Thin walls, old building, probably someone in the stairwell, maybe a neighbor talking too close to the wall. Sound travels weird in these old places, right? Easy answer, simple solution. But later, when I left for work, walking down the hall outside my door, I paused, turned to look at the wall that backed onto my bedroom. It wasn't the wall to another apartment. It wasn't even the wall to a shared space. It was the wall that connected directly to the stairwell. Nothing but concrete and empty air between me and the outside world. No reason for a voice. No place for anyone to stand. Nothing. Just a blank wall. And yet, last night, something in there had said hello to me. The second night, I left a podcast playing while I slept, volume low. Something about having a voice in the room made me feel a little less stupid for being afraid of a wall. It didn't help, not really. Because sometime around 3 a.m., maybe a little earlier, I woke up again. Not fully. Just enough. And it was there, waiting. That same soft whisper, that same terrible patience. But this time, not just a single word, not just hello. Can you hear me? Clear, slow, almost careful. As if whoever or whatever was inside that wall didn't want to startle me. As if it was just checking, testing, seeing if I was awake enough to understand. I didn't move, didn't answer, didn't even breathe properly. I just lay there, staring into the dark, feeling my heart beat like it was the only loud thing left in the world. And then silence. Complete. Total. Like it had never spoken at all. Morning came eventually. And just like before, I tried to be reasonable. Walls in old buildings do weird things. Sound bounces, maybe someone talking outside, maybe something from upstairs leaking through the structure somehow. But it didn't feel like that. Not when it was that clear. Not when it was that close. Not when it was timed so perfectly. Only when the world outside had gone completely quiet. By the third night, I was exhausted. Too tired to stay awake. Too wired to properly sleep. I left a lamp on, turned my phone screen toward me, tried everything I could to pretend the room felt normal. But right on time, that same soft pull at the edge of sleep, that same voice returned. Closer, clearer, and with words that felt heavier somehow. Not demanding, not angry, just persistent. Where are you? That was the moment it hit me. Whatever this was, it wasn't just saying random things. It wasn't repeating noise. It wasn't some strange echo or trick of old pipes. It was talking to me. Asking, waiting, learning. I sat up, wide awake, staring at the blank stretch of wall just above the headboard of my bed. I could feel it now, not just hear it. A weird vibration beneath the surface, not like a machine, not mechanical, but softer, alive, present. Like fingertips brushing the other side of the wall, testing, searching. And in a moment of sheer panic, or maybe something worse, I reached out and tapped the wall. Just once. Light. Careful. Almost like saying, I hear you. The response came almost immediately. 3 soft taps, perfectly spaced, perfectly matched. Like whoever was in there had been waiting for that exact moment. Waiting for me to answer. Waiting for me to prove I was listening. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Whatever was behind that wall, it wasn't random. It wasn't a neighbor. Wasn't bad plumbing. Wasn't wind in old pipes or settling wood in a tired building. It was something that knew I was here. And every night that passed, it got a little braver, a little closer, a little more certain I was listening. By the 4th night, I stopped sleeping properly. Too many thoughts running through my head, too many questions. Who would even be inside a wall? Why me? Why here? And most of all, how? I spent the whole next morning walking through the building, looking like a lunatic, tracing the outside of my own apartment with my hand, trying to figure out what was actually on the other side of that wall. And that's when I noticed something I'd somehow never paid attention to before. My bedroom wall didn't connect directly to the stairwell like I thought. It connected to this narrow, sealed-off vertical shaft, a tiny maintenance space running through the building. One of those hollow gaps in old apartments meant for wiring or pipes, maybe big enough for a person to crawl into, if they were desperate enough. But the weirdest thing? No door, no hatch, no access from anywhere in the hallway. The only way into that space was from inside the building's infrastructure itself, behind drywall, behind brick, behind the kind of material you don't just casually move through, unless you weren't exactly moving like a person, unless you didn't need space the way a person does. That realization settled in my stomach like cold stone, because whatever had been talking to me every night wasn't talking from outside. It was inside already. Inside the bones of the building. Inside the space nobody else even knew existed. Right next to me. Right behind that thin layer of wall separating me from empty dark. That night, I didn't sleep at all. Didn't even try. I sat there in bed, lights on, staring at the wall like maybe, if I just watched long enough, I'd catch whatever it was in the act. But when the whisper came again, it wasn't patient anymore. It wasn't testing. It wasn't asking, where are you, like before. This time, it was confident. Closer. Much closer. Almost like it had its mouth right up against the other side of the wall. Almost like it didn't need to ask where I was anymore. It already knew. I'm almost there. Short. Soft. Certain. And that's when I saw it. Not in my imagination. Not in some trick of light. But real. Clear. A hairline crack had appeared right above my bed. Thin. Fresh. Stretching slowly downward like something was pressing against the wall from inside. Pushing out. Testing the strength of the last barrier between us. I packed my things the next morning. Fast. Quiet. No music. No podcasts. Just me. Moving through my own apartment like a guest who'd overstayed their welcome. I didn't even bother taking everything. Just the essentials. Laptop. clothes, documents, whatever I could grab without looking too long at that wall, without thinking too hard about what was happening just a few feet away from where I used to sleep. Because the crack was bigger now. Not much, but enough. Enough to know that whatever had started as a hairline fracture wasn't stopping. It was growing, crawling down slowly, like a thin finger tracing its way toward the floor, toward the outlet, toward the weak point. The only break in the wall solid enough for something small or thin or impossibly patient to reach through. I told myself I was gone for good. That once I left this apartment, left that wall, it wouldn't matter anymore. Whatever was in there could have the place. I didn't want it. Didn't want any part of it. I left the keys on the counter. Didn't even look back. But even as I walked away, even as I drove to stay at a friend's place across town, a part of me knew. You don't wake up night after night to a voice calling for you and just walk away untouched. You don't answer it. You don't tap back. You don't give it permission to know you're listening. And think that ends the story. The last thing that happened before I left is what stays with me. More than the whispering, more than the crack in the wall, more than anything else. I was grabbing my jacket from the back of the bedroom door. One last look, one last scan, and I saw it. Not movement, not shadow, just words. Scratched faintly into the wall, just above the outlet where the crack had reached. Small, careful, written from the inside out, written backwards, like someone had been pressing the letters into the drywall from the other side. 6 words, 6 terrible words. Don't leave me alone again. But that's not the worst part. Not really. Because 2 nights later, in the middle of my friend's living room, while I was scrolling my phone trying to pretend life was normal again, the lights flickered. Soft, barely there. And for just a second, I thought I heard it again. Right up close, not far away, not behind walls, not behind bricks, but right behind me, right next to my ear. And this time the whisper wasn't asking for me, it wasn't calling hello, it wasn't asking where I was, it wasn't saying it was almost here, it was certain, it was smiling, and it was real. I found the way out. My name is Evan, and I never really thought much about doors. I mean, it's just a door, right? You walk through it, you close it, you don't really notice it after that. Especially when you live alone. Especially when it's the door to your own bedroom, in your own small apartment, in a life that's always felt normal, predictable, safe. I've been living here for almost a year. Nothing fancy, just a small 1-bedroom place on the 3rd floor of a pretty old building. Thin walls, wooden floors that creak when I move too fast, little kitchen barely big enough for 1 person. But it's home, quiet, simple, exactly what I wanted. Most nights I sleep with my bedroom door open, not wide open, just a little, half shut. Out of habit, mostly. Something about seeing a sliver of light from the hallway makes the room feel bigger. Less boxed in, less closed. I never lock it, never needed to. There's no one here but me. No pets, no roommates, no reason to shut myself in. Until that night. It was late, past midnight. I'd fallen asleep watching videos on my phone, earbuds still in, screen still glowing faint blue in the dark. At some point, I woke up, groggy, half aware, realizing I was thirsty, realizing I needed to get up. So I dragged myself out of bed, padded down the short hallway to the kitchen, filled a glass of water from the tap. Quiet, still, just me and the hum of the fridge. When I turned back to head to bed, everything looked normal. Bedroom door, exactly where I left it, half shut. Soft shadows spilling through the gap, that familiar quiet that comes with living alone. I reached out with my free hand, pushed the door like I had 1,000 times before, and it didn't move, not even an inch. I frowned, pushed harder. The door was solid, firm, like someone had closed it fully while I was in the kitchen. I tried the handle, turned it gently, and that's when my stomach dropped, because it didn't turn, because it was locked, locked from the inside, from a room I had just walked out of, from a room that, until that exact moment, had no one else in it but me. I stood there for a long time, hand still on the handle, heart beating just a little faster than it should, brain scrambling for reasons, for logic. Maybe the lock was loose, maybe the handle jammed weirdly when I closed the door before, except I didn't close it, I didn't lock it, I never do. And yet, here I was, staring at my own bedroom door, locked, silent, waiting. And for the first time in a very long time, that quiet, peaceful apartment of mine didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like something else was here, something that knew exactly where I slept, and exactly when I'd be gone. I stood there longer than I probably should have, staring at that door, at the handle that wouldn't turn, at the thin line of shadow where the door met the frame. Everything about it looked normal, ordinary, but nothing about this felt normal anymore. Not the weight of the door, not the absolute stillness of the air around me, and especially not the fact that it was locked. From the inside, from my side of the world that wasn't supposed to have anyone else in it. I tried again. Turned the handle slowly, carefully, like maybe I'd imagined it, like maybe it would just click open and I'd laugh about it later. But no. Solid, firm, completely unmoving. I knocked. Soft at first, then louder. The sound echoed strange in the stillness of my apartment. Thin walls, usually. Noise travelled easily here, but this knock? This felt like it disappeared too quickly, swallowed, like the space beyond the door wasn't empty at all. I pressed my ear against the wood, listened, and for a second, nothing. Just the faint hum of quiet. And then, a sound I still hear sometimes when everything else goes quiet. A small click, soft, delicate, like the gentle twist of a lock turning. From the other side. I stepped back fast, cold prickling across my skin like ice water. There shouldn't be anyone in there. There couldn't be. But that sound, that was intentional. That was deliberate. Like whoever or whatever was in there wanted me to know they were listening too. My first thought was to get outside, go around, see into the bedroom from the balcony. Not the safest move, sure, but panic makes you do dumb things. Luckily, my unit wraps around just enough that if I stepped onto the small balcony, leaned over a little, I could look through my bedroom window. I grabbed my keys, slipped out the sliding door, heart pounding too loud in my ears, stepped carefully, slowly, toward the edge, and what I saw made my stomach turn. The light was on, bright, steady. But I never leave that light on. Ever, and on the bed, my bed, the blanket was pulled up, shaped wrong, not messy like someone had tossed and turned. Not empty like no one was there, but heavy, still, like someone was lying there, completely motionless, perfectly quiet, waiting. I didn't see a face, didn't see movement. But something about that shape under the blanket made every instinct in me scream to leave. Because I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, I hadn't left my bed like that. Hadn't left the light on, hadn't left the door locked. Whatever was in that room, it wasn't me, and it wasn't welcome. I didn't go back inside right away. Standing there on the balcony, staring into my own bedroom like an outsider, like some stranger looking into a life that should have felt safe, all I could think about was how badly I wanted someone else here. Anyone. Just not me. Not alone. I texted Jake, old friend. Lives 10 minutes away. The kind of guy you can call at 2 a.m. without needing to explain first. And even through text, he knew something was wrong. Stay outside. He replied almost instantly. I'm on my way. While I waited, I stayed on that cold little balcony, phone in hand, with eyes locked on that bedroom window. I didn't see movement, didn't see anything shift, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was in there knew I was watching, knew I wouldn't come closer, knew I couldn't do anything except wait. But then the sounds started. Soft at first, like fabric dragging slowly across the floor. That horrible, slow scrape of weight being shifted, like bare feet moving just enough to let me know they were there. Then another sound. Steps, not heavy, not rushed, measured, like someone pacing, turning, watching me from the other side of the wall. And then silence again, heavy, dead, too complete, like it was waiting for me to come back inside. Jake arrived what felt like forever later, but in reality couldn't have been more than 15 minutes. He didn't waste time asking questions, didn't tell me I was overreacting. One look at my face and he knew this wasn't just a stuck door. This was something else, something worse. We went in together, slow, quiet. Made our way down the hall toward my bedroom, and even before we reached the door, we both heard it. A soft, dragging sound, right up against the door from the inside, like fingertips tracing the wood, circling the handle, like it knew, like it was waiting. Jake looked at me once, didn't speak, just mouthed, "Ready?" And with one sharp kick, he broke the lock. The door slammed open hard enough to bounce off the wall, but the room was empty. Completely empty. No figure on the bed, no footsteps on the floor, nothing, just stillness. too clean, too neat. Like whatever had been here had been waiting for us to come in and left before we could see it. Except there was one thing. On the desk, right next to my laptop, a glass of water, full, clear, perfect. Exactly like the one I'd left in the kitchen when this whole nightmare started. But I hadn't brought it in here, hadn't touched it, hadn't even stepped back inside until now. And sitting beside the glass, small, neat, impossibly deliberate, was a folded piece of paper. My name written on the outside in shaky, uneven handwriting, like someone copying how letters should look, but not quite getting them right. I didn't want to open that piece of paper. Standing there in the doorway of my own bedroom, a room that suddenly didn't feel like mine at all, with Jake beside me saying nothing, just watching me look down at that note, I knew. Whatever was written inside, it wasn't going to explain anything. It wasn't going to make this feel better. It wasn't going to tell me why. Because whoever left it, they didn't want to explain. They just wanted me to read it. I unfolded it slowly, and I swear my hands shook harder doing that than they had all night. 2 words. Simple, perfectly placed in the middle of the paper, written in that same awkward, uneven scrawl. Sleep tight. That was it. No name, no threat, no demand. Just those words, soft, final, terrifying in a way nothing loud or violent could ever be. Jake stayed with me that night. Neither of us slept. We sat in the living room, lights on, door to the bedroom wide open like that would somehow keep whatever had been inside away. But the truth? We both knew. Whatever had been in there, it didn't care about doors. It didn't care about locks. It didn't care if I was awake or asleep. It had already gotten in once, and if it wanted to again, it would. I moved out 2 days later. Didn't even go back for the rest of my stuff. Left it all there. The bed, the desk, the stupid glass of water. Like leaving pieces of my old life behind could somehow keep the rest of me safe. New apartment, new city, new locks on every door. And for a while, it worked. I slept. I relaxed. I told myself this was over, that whatever nightmare I'd stepped into back there, whatever thing had stood on the other side of that door, tracing its fingers across the wood, waiting for me to come back, it stayed behind. But fear doesn't really go away. Not when it's earned, not when it's built from something you know happened, not when every night still feels just a little too quiet. Weeks passed, normal nights, safe nights. Until one night, maybe 2 in the morning, I got up for water. Old habit now. Always leave the bedroom door wide open, always check the lights, always check the lock. But that night, when I came back, the door to my room was half closed, not shut. Just barely swung in like something or someone had pushed it quietly while I was gone. And as I reached for the handle, just for a second I heard it. The faintest sound from the other side. Too soft to be wind, too quiet to be pipes. Soft, gentle. Like fingertips brushing against the metal. Like a voice so close I could almost feel the breath against my ear. And then, a sound I'll never forget. The slow, careful turn of the door handle. Moving on its own, turning inward. From the inside. My name is Liam, and honestly, I've never been scared of elevators, not even late at night, not even when I'm alone. I guess that comes with living in an apartment building long enough. Things just become routine, especially for me, especially in this building, especially with this elevator. I moved into this place about a month ago. It's not new, not fancy, an old 14-story building, nothing too special, but clean enough, quiet enough, and, most importantly, affordable. My unit is on the 14th floor, right near the top. It's a bit of a pain when the elevator's slow, but after a few weeks I got used to the rhythm of this place. People here tend to sleep early. Late at night, when I come home from work, the halls are empty, the lights are dim, and the elevator is usually waiting, silent, still, just me and it. No problem. No feeling weird. No ghost stories running through my head. Just another ride up. Another normal night. Until it stopped being normal. The first time it happened, I didn't even think twice. It was almost 1 a.m. Long day. Tired. I stepped into the elevator, hit the button for floor 14, leaned against the wall, scrolled my phone, half asleep on my feet. But when the elevator passed floor 13, it didn't slow down. Didn't stop. It went right past my floor like I hadn't pressed anything at all. Straight to floor 15. Doors opened. Empty hallway. I blinked, confused. Maybe I messed up. Maybe I hit the wrong button. No big deal. I took the stairs down one floor, went home, forgot about it. But then it happened again, and again. Always late, always when I was alone. Every time I stepped in, pressed 14, the elevator would light up like normal, until it got close. And then, the light for my floor would click off. Gone. Like someone or something had cancelled my stop right before I reached it, always taking me straight to 15. Still, I wasn't scared, not yet. Old building, old elevators, weird glitches happen. I even joked with a coworker about it. Guess this place hates the 4th floor, I laughed. But the weird part was, it never happened during the day. Morning rides? Fine. Afternoon? Fine. Even evening was okay if someone else was in the elevator with me. But past midnight, when it was just me, the elevator never ever wanted to stop at my floor. Like it was avoiding it, like it didn't want me getting out there, like it was keeping me away. And at the time, I didn't realize that was the good part. That being stuck one floor higher, that was the safest place I could have been. At first, I tried not to overthink it. Weird stuff happens in old buildings all the time. Buttons wear out, sensors glitch, elevators act strange. Simple, harmless. But the more it happened, the harder it became to ignore. Because it wasn't random, it wasn't broken. It was a pattern, clear, specific, always the same. Every night after midnight, when I was alone, floor 14 didn't exist anymore. At least not for me. I started testing it. Little things at first. Sometimes I'd press 14 and 15 together, like maybe that would confuse it, maybe force it to stop. It didn't. It just skipped 14 and opened at 15 like always. Other times, I'd get in and wait without pressing anything, just to see what the elevator would do on its own. And if it was past midnight, it went straight to 15, like it already knew where I was going. Like it didn't care what button I pressed. That's when I started recording it. Pulled out my phone, set it to video, nothing fancy. Just proof for myself that I wasn't losing it, that what was happening was real. And the first time I recorded it, yeah, it worked exactly like I expected. I hit floor 14, the light came on, the elevator started moving, past floor 13, and right as it should have slowed down for 14, the light blinked off. Gone. No sound, no error, just clean, quiet refusal. Straight to 15. Doors opened, empty hallway, like always. But when I played the video back later, I noticed something else, something I didn't see at the time. As the elevator doors were closing at floor 14, just before they shut completely, there was movement. In the corner of the screen. Subtle. Still. A shape. Small. Human. But wrong. Because it was standing right there in the gap between the doors, barely visible in the darkness of the floor. Watching. Not walking. Not moving. Just standing. Perfectly still. Almost like waiting. Like knowing. I paused the video. Stared at that blurred shape. Felt my stomach drop in a way I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Because I knew. Whatever it was on floor 14. And the elevator skipping my stop? Maybe that wasn't a glitch. Maybe that wasn't bad luck. Maybe, just maybe, it was trying to help me. Keeping me away from whatever was standing there. Whatever didn't want me coming home after midnight. But the real problem was, now I wanted to know what it was. And sooner or later, I knew I was going to have to get out at floor 14. No matter what waited there. I didn't tell anyone right away. About the scratch marks on the wall, about the warning left behind like a last desperate whisper from someone who didn't get lucky like me. But the thing about living somewhere long enough, especially in an old building like mine, is that people notice things. Little things. The way you start taking the stairs more than usual. The way you hesitate when the elevator dings late at night. The way you look over your shoulder even when no one else is around. That's probably why the old security guard, Mr. Harlan, finally stopped me one night. It was late. Maybe 11:30. I'd just gotten back from grabbing food, heading toward the elevator like always. And he was just standing there in the lobby, leaning against the wall, sipping his bad coffee like it was part of his uniform, watching me, not unkind, not nosy, just knowing. "You live on 14, right?" he asked casually. I nodded, half smiling. "Yeah. Why?" He didn't answer at first, just looked at me for a long time. Long enough to feel like I should have lied. And then he said it. Soft, quiet, like a man telling you a secret he wishes wasn't true. I thought that floor was empty now. I froze. "Empty?" He nodded slowly. No one stayed there long in years, always moving out in the middle of the night, always leaving in a hurry, always after something weird with the elevator. He didn't laugh, didn't joke, didn't act like I was crazy. He just looked tired, older than before, worn down by whatever history this building had been collecting long before I showed up. And then he said something I'll never forget, words that settled deep in my chest like ice. If that elevator skips your floor sometimes, pause, long enough to make me stop breathing, you should thank it. That was all. No warning, no explanation, just that, like the elevator wasn't failing me, like it was protecting me, like it was keeping me away from something that didn't belong on floor 14. Or maybe something that belonged there too much. And that night, when I got in the elevator past midnight, I didn't press anything. I just let it take me where it wanted. Sure enough, like clockwork, it sailed right past floor 14, straight to 15. Doors opened, empty hallway, safe, silent, almost normal. But just as the doors started to close, just as that sliver of view into floor 14 narrowed to almost nothing, I saw it. A hand, small, thin, skin pale like it hadn't touched sunlight in years, fingers longer than they should be, curling slowly around the edge of the closing door, not rushing, not grabbing, just resting there, like it knew I was watching, like it knew it almost had me. And then the doors shut, cutting it off, leaving me on floor 15, heart pounding, mouth dry, brain screaming, but alive, for now. My name is Alex, and this story didn't start with anything scary. No creepy vibes, no weird feelings, just a mirror. A beautiful old mirror I found by accident. I like old stuff. Vintage furniture, things with history, the kind of pieces that feel like they belonged somewhere before they ended up with me. So when I saw that mirror at the second-hand market downtown, it didn't even feel like a choice. It felt like it was waiting. Tall, wooden frame. Little carvings curling around the edges. Faded but still elegant. A few scratches on the glass, but that only made it look better to me. Like it had lived. Like it had seen things. I bought it without a second thought. Dragged it all the way home. Hung it right on the wall across from my bed. Perfect spot. Perfect view. At night, when I lay in bed scrolling my phone, I could see the soft glow of my lamps reflected behind me. The little corner plant next to the window. The chair in the corner. My room looked even cozier in the glass. Even more mine. For a while, that's all it was. Just a mirror. A pretty old thing that made the room feel bigger, warmer. Nothing strange. Nothing wrong. Until one night, late. Almost 2 a.m. I got up to grab water from the kitchen, the usual routine when you live alone and lose track of time, and when I came back I caught my own reflection in the mirror. Or at least, I thought I did. But when I stopped to look properly, something didn't feel right. It took me a second to realize what it was. It took me a second longer to feel that weird, slow chill crawl up the back of my neck. The room in the mirror was there, exactly as it should be. The bed, the window, the lamp glow, everything. Except me. I wasn't there, not in the reflection, not even faintly. I waved my hand. Nothing. Stepped a little closer. Still nothing. It wasn't like the glass was dirty, wasn't like the light was bad. The mirror showed my room perfectly, every detail. But not me. Like I didn't belong in that version of the room. Like whatever that reflection was, it didn't expect me to be there at all. I stared at it for a long time, trying to figure it out, trying to tell myself maybe I was tired. Maybe it was a trick of the angle, maybe the light, maybe anything but what it really looked like. A copy of my room, beautiful, still, empty, completely empty, except for everything I owned, and nothing of me. I tried to forget about it, about that night, about standing there staring into a version of my own room that didn't seem to need me. It was easier at first to tell myself it was nothing, that maybe I was tired, half asleep, seeing wrong. That's the thing about living alone. There's nobody else to check with. Nobody else to say, hey, do you see this too? It's just you and your thoughts and your reflections, or the lack of them. For a couple of days, everything felt normal again. During the day, the mirror worked like any other mirror. Sunlight streaming in through the window, my reflection there like it always should have been. Clear, real, comforting. It made me think maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe that late-night version of my room, empty, still, untouched, was just a weird one-time glitch. But it wasn't. Not really. Because soon, things started to change. Little things. Tiny details only I would notice, like the chair in the corner of my room. The one I always left angled slightly toward the window. In the mirror, it was turned differently. Not by much. Just enough to make me stop and stare. Just enough to make me wonder if it had always been like that. And then it was the lamp. In my room, the real room, the lamp gave off a soft, warm glow. Almost yellow. But in the mirror, some nights it looked brighter, whiter, harsher somehow, like it belonged somewhere colder, somewhere emptier. Then came the bed. One night, coming back from the kitchen again, I glanced at the mirror, that automatic check I'd started doing without thinking, and froze. On the bed, in the reflection, the blanket was dented, pressed down in a way that only happens when someone's sitting there. But my real bed? Perfect. Untouched, exactly how I left it. But in the mirror, it looked like someone or something had been waiting. Sitting there, watching. Leaving just enough of a mark to let me know. It was around then I stopped using the mirror, stopped looking directly at it, started covering it with an old sheet at night, like that could somehow block whatever was happening on the other side. And for a little while it helped. Out of sight, out of mind. But one night curiosity beat fear. It always does. I stood in front of the mirror again, lifted the sheet slowly, carefully, looked in. The room stared back at me. Still. Cold. Perfect and empty. No reflection. No me. I stepped closer, closer still, until my face should have been inches from the glass, until I should have seen my eyes staring back at me. But there was nothing. No movement, no shape, just that perfect silent copy of my room. Exactly the same, exactly right. Except for me. Like I didn't belong there anymore. Like something else did. I stopped pretending after that night. Stopped telling myself it was nothing. Stopped looking for reasons that made sense. Because deep down I knew. That mirror, the one I had been so proud to find, so eager to hang in my room, wasn't just a mirror anymore. If it ever had been. I tried everything small first. Normal things. I moved the mirror to another wall. Different angle. Didn't matter. Still showed my room. Still showed it without me. I cleaned the glass. Again and again. Like dirt or dust or old stains could be the reason. They weren't. I even tried covering it fully every night. Blanket pulled tight. Taped at the edges. But even then, lying in bed in the dark, I would still hear it. That soft, impossible sound. The faintest noise of fingernails dragging slowly across glass. From the inside. Not scratching. Not aggressive. Just steady. Just present. Just enough to make me stare at that covered shape every time I opened my eyes. And then one morning, I noticed something new. Handprints. Not on the outside, not where I could wipe them away, but faintly, so faintly pressed against the inside of the mirror. Small. Delicate. Not childlike. Just wrong. Wrong in the way the fingers were too thin. Too long. Pressed too flat against a surface that should have only shown reflections. Not touch. After that, I stopped covering it. I needed to see. Needed to know if whatever was inside there was still watching me. Or worse, waiting for me. For a few nights, it was just the same old nightmare. Empty room in the reflection, same details, same impossible stillness. Until it wasn't. Until I walked past one night, late, tired, thirsty like always, and caught a shape in the corner of my eye. A figure. Standing, right there, in the middle of the reflected room, facing away from me, not moving, not shifting, just there. Everything inside me went cold, because there was no one in my real room. But in the mirror, someone, or something, was standing exactly where I should have been, right in front of the bed, facing the window, silent. I should have left, should have run, but I couldn't. My feet stayed planted like the floor itself was holding me in place. I watched, waited, hoped it wouldn't do anything more. But slowly, painfully slowly, it began to move. Not its body, not its feet, just its head, turning, bit by bit, angling itself back over its shoulder, not fast, not jerky, but smooth, deliberate. Like it had all the time in the world. Like it knew exactly where I was standing, like it had been waiting for this moment all along. I didn't sleep properly after that night. Couldn't. Even if I closed my eyes, even if I stayed in bed with my back turned to that wall, I could feel it. The weight of that thing in the mirror, standing there, silent, facing me now. Like it had finally decided to acknowledge me. Like I wasn't just some uninvited guest watching anymore. I was involved. Pulled in, closer than ever. For days, I avoided the mirror. Didn't look at it, didn't walk past it, didn't even dare touch it. But fear and curiosity have this awful way of twisting together when you're alone long enough. And eventually, I had to look again. Just to see, just to know. The figure wasn't there this time. Not standing in the middle of the room. Not turning its head slowly over its shoulder. But the room in the mirror, it was different now. Darker. Older somehow. The walls looked worn, the lamp dimmer. Everything about it felt heavier, tired. Like that version of my room had been sitting still too long. Like it had been waiting for me to finally step through. I made a decision. A stupid, desperate, tired decision. I was going to get rid of it. Take the mirror out. Throw it away. Smash it if I had to. Whatever curse or trick or nightmare it carried, I didn't want it anymore. Didn't want it near me. So late one night, I took it down. Carried it awkwardly down the stairs, out of my building, all the way to the dumpsters behind the lot. Left it there. Didn't look back. Didn't wait. Just walked home, shut my door, told myself it was over. Done. Gone. Until the next morning. When I woke up, turned toward the wall where the mirror used to hang, and saw it there, right back where it had always been, hanging perfectly straight, undisturbed, exactly like I'd never touched it. Except for one thing. There was writing on the glass now, faint, right at eye level, like breath on cold glass, but from the inside. 6 words, simple, soft, final. One day, you'll be here. Not a threat, not a warning, just certain, like a promise, like a fact. Like the mirror had never been showing me my room at all. It had been showing me its room. And one day, somehow, I was going to be on that side. My name is Ryan, and I never really thought a TV could scare me. I mean, it's just a TV. One of the most normal, boring things in any house. Mine wasn't even anything special. Old flat screen. A little scratched on the edges. Sounds a bit off sometimes, but it worked fine. Always had. Always predictable. Just like the rest of my tiny apartment. Simple. Quiet. Mine. I like my nights here, especially the quiet after midnight. Living alone teaches you to enjoy the stillness. No noise. No voices. No background hum of life moving around you. Just me in my bed, the faint glow of streetlights slipping through the blinds, and the steady, calm silence of knowing I'd locked up everything for the night. TV off. Lights off. Everything exactly where it should be. Until it wasn't. The first time I noticed it, I didn't even realize what was happening. It was maybe 3 a.m. That strange, heavy kind of wake-up where you don't even remember why your eyes opened. Thirsty, maybe. Restless. I got up, shuffled down the hallway toward the kitchen, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and that's when I saw it. Light, soft, unnatural, spilling faintly from the living room. From the TV, it was on. Just on. No sound, just that low buzz of static. That grainy, shifting grey-white screen nobody ever watches unless something's seriously wrong. I stared at it for a long second. Brain slow, trying to process. Had I forgotten to turn it off? No way. Turning off the TV was like muscle memory, every night. Without fail, especially living alone, especially when electricity isn't cheap. I walked over. Remote was still on the coffee table. Untouched, no timers set, no autoplay, definitely no reason for it to be on like this. I turned it off, stood there in the quiet, listening, waiting, but nothing happened. No glitch, no restart, just black screen, silence. Like it was done, like it had finished whatever it was doing. I went back to bed, told myself it was a one-time thing. Weird tech glitch. Old TV doing old TV things. No big deal. Nothing worth getting paranoid over. But that was just the first night. And the next, it happened again. Same time. Same static screen. Same quiet buzz filling the dark like a sound I wasn't supposed to hear. And standing there, staring at that screen in the dark of my own home, something about it felt different. Wrong. Not like a glitch. Not like bad wiring. More like something was waiting. Waiting until I wasn't watching, waiting until I was asleep. After the second night, I stopped pretending it was nothing. It wasn't. Old TV or not, things don't just turn themselves on in the middle of the night. Not like that. Not 2 nights in a row. Not at the exact same time. Not when I know. I turned it off. So the next day, I checked everything. Remote? Fine. No stuck buttons. Sleep timer? Disabled. Auto power on? Off. Cables? Secure. Nothing that explained anything, nothing that told me why. At 3 a.m., like clockwork, my TV was deciding it had somewhere to be, or something to show. I went to bed early that night, left the TV unplugged, just to be sure. Didn't hear anything. Didn't see that weird static glow bleeding through the dark. For the first time in a couple days, I actually slept okay. Almost believed it was over. Almost, until the night after that. I was tired. Forgot to unplug the TV. But this time, I left my phone propped up on the kitchen counter, camera on, facing the living room, just in case. I didn't think it would catch anything, honestly. Didn't really expect to need proof of something that dumb. But the feeling wouldn't leave me alone. That same itch in the back of my head every time I walked past the TV now. Every time I turned my back. So I left it recording. Went to bed. Tried to sleep. Didn't really. I must have drifted off at some point, because when I woke up it was already morning. No light from the living room, no sound. Everything felt normal. Almost boring. But I checked the video anyway. What I saw made my skin crawl. The first hour? Nothing. Just me walking around, turning off lights, heading to bed. Then stillness. Silence. Dark. But right around 3:12 a.m, the TV came on. Not right after I fell asleep. Not right away. But exactly at the moment I rolled over in bed. The moment I turned my back toward the hallway, like it had been waiting, watching, timing me. And when the screen lit up, it wasn't immediate static. Not right after. There was a flicker. A flash of something that wasn't noise, not pattern, not signal loss. Something else. Something closer. Something almost like a shape. I replayed it over and over, frame by frame, trying to catch it, trying to see what my own eyes refused to believe. And every time my chest tightened just a little more. Because whatever was happening here, this wasn't random, this wasn't broken, this wasn't chance, this was personal. I couldn't let it go. Not after seeing that. Not after watching my own TV turn on, quietly, patiently, like it had been waiting all night for the perfect moment. Waiting for me to turn away. To roll over, to sleep. But that flicker, that quick flash on the screen before it settled into static, that wouldn't leave my head. It didn't feel like a glitch. It didn't feel like signal noise. It felt intentional, like whoever or whatever was behind this wanted me to see just enough, but not everything. So I did what anyone would do. I slowed the video down, frame by frame, second by second, trying to catch what my eyes had missed the first time, and it didn't take long. Right before the static really kicked in, for just a couple of seconds, the screen showed something clear. Not a program, not a channel, but a room. My bedroom. It wasn't possible. I stared at the screen in frozen disbelief, recognizing every detail. The corner of my bed, the soft glow of my little night lamp, the curtain half pulled against the window, every single thing exactly how I left it, exactly how I'd just been lying there. Except, it wasn't from my camera. It wasn't from the phone I left in the kitchen. It was from somewhere else. Higher, angled, like from the corner of the ceiling. Like from somewhere I couldn't even reach if I tried. A perspective I didn't own. A view I didn't set up. That moment, that was when the cold set in. The kind of cold that doesn't go away with blankets or lights or music. The kind that settles under your skin. Heavy, sick, real. Because there's only one way a screen shows that view. Only one way a live image of my bedroom shows up on a TV I never connected to anything. Someone or something was watching me. From inside. From closer than I ever thought possible. And the longer I stared, the worse it got. Because after the short flash of my room, after it cut back to static, I noticed something else. Something I hadn't caught at first. In the reflection of the TV screen, that faint glassy surface overlaying the static, there was movement. Not in my living room. Not outside. But right up close. Just at the edge. A shape. Tall. Still. Standing exactly where the camera angle had been. Like it had moved. Like it had gotten closer. Like maybe it wasn't watching me from the TV. Maybe it was watching me from somewhere even nearer. I didn't sleep properly after that night. Didn't even try. I spent the next day tearing the living room apart, unplugging the TV, checking every wire, every setting, every possible way this could have made sense. It didn't. No cameras, no smart features, nothing connected, nothing hidden. Just an old TV sitting quietly like it hadn't been doing something impossible for days. But I didn't care about logic anymore. I was done. So that night, before bed, I left it unplugged, pulled the cord out of the wall, left it dangling, obvious like a line drawn in the sand. Not tonight, I told myself, not ever again. And for a while it worked. Silence. Darkness. The living room as empty as it should have always been. I stayed awake longer than usual, waiting, watching the soft line of light under my bedroom door, waiting for that impossible glow to return, but it didn't. I must have fallen asleep somewhere close to morning, exhausted, done, relieved, until it happened. Something pulled me out of sleep. Not loud, not sudden, just wrong. The faintest flicker of light, soft, familiar, bleeding through my closed eyelids like a quiet reminder. And when I opened my eyes, the TV was on. But not in the living room, not out there, not glowing down the hallway. It was here, in my room, right at the foot of my bed, still unplugged, still impossible, but bright, alive, waiting, and on the screen, not static, not noise, but me, lying exactly where I was now, sleeping. The image was too clear, too close. The camera angle wasn't from the ceiling anymore. It wasn't even from across the room. It was from right next to me, from the side of the bed, from somewhere impossibly close. Like whoever or whatever had been watching through the TV was now standing right beside me. And in the bottom corner of the screen, words began to form. Slow, faint, like breath fogging up glass. 2 words, simple, soft, final. Always watching. I didn't stay in that apartment after that. Didn't pack, didn't clean. I left everything, TV included, and walked out like I was afraid if I stayed even a second longer, I wouldn't be the one watching anymore. I'd be the one on the other side of the screen, permanently. My name is Ethan, and honestly, I never thought I'd have a story to tell about my shoes. Shoes are just shoes, right? You wear them, you leave them by the door, you put them back on, you go. That's it, nothing strange, nothing worth thinking twice about. Especially when you live alone like me. Especially in a place like this. I rent a small apartment in an old building. One of those long, quiet hallways with flickering yellow lights. Not fancy, not modern, but cheap enough. Private enough. At the very end of the hall, where barely anyone passes by, that's me. It's quiet, it's easy. And for the longest time I thought it was safe. Every night, like always, I leave my sneakers outside my door. It's a habit. My room's small, no space for dirty shoes inside. Just drop them outside, right next to the doorframe. Simple, automatic, normal. And that's exactly what I did. Until one morning. A morning that felt like any other. Nothing weird, nothing different. Until I opened my door, looked down and paused. My shoes were there. Same spot, same pair, same way I always left them. But something felt off. It was small, subtle, but real. The kind of wrong you can't quite explain right away, but your brain catches it before you even know why. They looked older, more worn out, not destroyed, not ruined, just used. Used in a way they hadn't been the night before. There were scratches on the side, faint, almost like scuff marks from being dragged against concrete. There was a dirty smudge across the toe, brownish, dusty, not mud exactly, but not clean. Not how I left them, not after walking home the same clean, dry hallway I always did. I stood there for a while, staring, no panic, no fear. Just that weird, quiet question floating in the back of my head. Was that like this yesterday? Did I just not notice? Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I didn't pay attention last night. So I shook it off. Laughed a little under my breath, slipped my feet into those same old shoes. They still fit perfectly. Still felt exactly the same. Still looked almost like mine. Just a little older. Just a little more worn. As if they had gone somewhere without me. Done something without me. Lived through something overnight that I didn't see. That I didn't know. Not yet. But that morning, that was just the first time. Just the first small crack. The first quiet warning. Because after that, it kept happening. And every time after, the shoes that came back to me looked a little less like mine. And a little more like they belonged to something else. After that first morning, I couldn't stop noticing it, couldn't unsee it. Every night, I'd leave my shoes outside my door like I always did. And every morning, they looked worse. Not destroyed, not dramatic, just wrong. More wrong each time. Subtle at first, but once you notice something like that, it sticks with you. It eats at you. The next night, I even took a picture. Simple. Quick snap on my phone, my sneakers, clean, whole. Exactly how they should be. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't post it, didn't want to sound crazy, but I wanted proof for me, just in case. And when I woke up the next morning, the shoes were there, still sitting right outside my door, still looking like mine. Except now, there was a rip near the heel. Small, clean, almost like a cut. but not from walking, not from wearing. It looked like the kind of tear you'd get if something sharp caught the back, or if they were dragged across something rough. There was dirt too, but not the kind you find in the hallway. This was dry, dusty, faint traces of brown and grey, like the shoes had been somewhere else, somewhere older, somewhere I hadn't been. I checked the photo I took the night before. Perfect. No rip, no dirt, just like I remembered. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't wear and tear from walking. This wasn't me forgetting how dirty they were. Something or someone was moving them. Somehow, somewhere. In the middle of the night. While I was asleep, I started watching more closely, inspecting them every morning, counting little changes, new scratches, new stains, faint smudges like mud drying and flaking off, even tiny marks on the soles, scuffs on the side. Not from walking, not from me. Like the shoes had been dragged along a rough floor, or pulled through dirt, or scraped across old, broken concrete. And the worst part? They always came back. Neatly, carefully, placed exactly where I'd left them, facing the same way, almost respectfully, like whoever or whatever was taking them out at night wanted me to believe they never left, wanted me to think nothing was happening, but didn't care enough to hide their mistakes. I knew what I had to do. I set up my phone outside the door, camera on, propped against the wall, facing my shoes, recording all night. No motion detection, no cuts, just pure, quiet video. Waiting, watching, hoping I'd wake up and find nothing. Praying I was wrong, praying it was all in my head. But deep down, I knew better. Deep down I knew something out there was using my shoes, borrowing them every night. And whatever it was getting bolder. I didn't check the video right away. Honestly, I was scared to. It sat there on my phone all morning, waiting, like it knew exactly what it had caught, like it was daring me to look. When I finally pressed play, I told myself I was ready. But nothing really prepares you for seeing something like that. Nothing makes it feel less real. The first few hours were nothing, just silence. The quiet glow of the hallway light flickering off and on. My shoes sitting there, still, unmoving. Like they always did, like I always left them. But then, sometime after 2 a.m., it happened. Movement. Small at first, from the very edge of the frame, the part swallowed mostly in shadow. Something shifted, something slid into view. Slow, low, crawling. It was a hand, long, thin, way too thin. Pale like paper left too long in the dark. The skin looked stretched tight over bone, not old, not wrinkled, just unnatural. And the fingers, they were wrong. Longer than they should have been. Moving in this awful steady way. Controlled, confident. Like it had done this many, many times before. The hand crept out from the shadow, reached toward my shoes, and without sound, without hesitation, it curled those long fingers around them and dragged them away. Just like that, gone. Pulled out a frame, pulled into whatever waited beyond that stretch of dark hallway. I froze, just watching, waiting. I don't even know how long the video stayed empty after that. Minutes, maybe. But then, the hand came back, sliding from the same shadow, dragging my shoes back into frame. Setting them down. Neat. Precise. Like it cared about putting them exactly where they were before. Like it wanted me to believe nothing had happened. But there was something different. Subtle. Hard to see at first. But there. The shoes weren't exactly the same. Not anymore. A scuff that hadn't been there before. A slight tear on the heel. Dust along the sides. But most of all, the way they sat. Like they were heavier somehow. Worn down. Tired. Used. Not my shoes anymore. Not really. Just copies. Close enough to fool a quick glance. But once you knew, once you looked properly, you could never unsee it again. That night changed everything for me. Because it wasn't about dirty shoes anymore. It wasn't about losing a nice pair of sneakers. It was about knowing. Knowing that something out there needed them, used them, borrowed them, night after night, and every morning it brought them back. Just a little bit less mine. That video didn't leave my head. Not for a second. Not while I was at work. Not while I was eating. Not while I was trying and failing to sleep. All I could see was that hand. Those thin, impossible fingers, curling around my shoes like they'd always belonged to them. Like I'd been borrowing their shoes all along. Not the other way around. That night, I broke the routine. For the first time since I moved into this place, I didn't leave my shoes outside. I brought them in. Dropped them right next to my bed. Locked the door, double-checked it, triple-checked it. And when I finally lay down, I waited. Not for sleep, not for rest, but for whatever would come next. Morning came slow, grey light spilling through the window, everything quiet, everything still. For a moment I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. Maybe I'd broken whatever strange habit I'd been caught in. Maybe all it ever wanted was the shoes, and if I didn't give them, it would leave me alone. But when I got up, when I stepped out of my room, when I opened the door, I knew exactly how wrong I was, because my shoes, they were outside, sitting neatly in their usual spot, exactly where I didn't leave them. But they weren't the same, not anymore. They didn't even look wearable. The fabric was torn clean through. The soles were paper thin, like they'd been scraped over miles of broken ground. The colour, what little was left of it, looked like something had dragged them through dirt, ash, maybe even worse. And the smell, old, rotten, not dirt, not sweat, but something else entirely, something wrong, something dead. I didn't want to touch them, didn't want to go near them, but something caught my eye, something small, tucked into the opening of one shoe, white, crushed, a piece of paper, folded perfectly, neat, deliberate, waiting for me. I stared at it for a long time. Then I reached down, slow, like even the air felt heavier near them, and unfolded the paper with shaking hands. There were only 2 words written inside. Simple, quiet, awful, keep walking. That was it. No threat, no explanation. Just instructions, like a rule, like a reminder, like a warning. Keep walking. Don't stop. Don't stay. Don't look too long. Because whatever had been taking my shoes every night, whatever had been using them, wherever they had been going, it wanted me to keep moving, to never stand still, to never wait long enough for it to catch up. My name is Oliver, and I've always liked quiet. I like living alone. I like the stillness at night, no noise, no voices. Just me, my room, and the calm kind of silence that makes falling asleep easy. Or it used to. Until the first night I heard it. It was small, barely there. One of those moments when you're half asleep, floating between dreams and real life, and you're not sure if you heard something or just imagined it. That's what I told myself anyway. It was late, almost 3 a.m. I woke up for no real reason. No loud noise, no nightmares, just this weird, tiny sound brushing the edge of my hearing, like someone mumbling, far away, or maybe close. I couldn't tell. At first I thought maybe it was from outside, maybe someone walking past my door talking on the phone. But this was a sound I'd never heard before. Not words, not clear, just wrong. Like the sound of someone trying to speak but not really knowing how. Pausing, starting again, slow, broken. It didn't even sound like a language, more like shapes of sound. Not loud, not threatening, just practicing, over and over. Very soft, very patient. I sat up for a while, listening, waiting for it to stop, waiting for it to fade, but it didn't, at least not right away. The sounds continued for a few minutes, repeating, dragging slowly, like whoever or whatever was making them wasn't in a hurry, wasn't trying to scare me, was just working on something. Like a kid sounding out their first word, like someone learning, trying, failing, trying again. Eventually it stopped. Or maybe I fell asleep. I honestly don't remember. Morning came like normal, the sun through the window, my quiet little room exactly how I left it. No signs of anything strange, no sounds, no voices, just that weird lingering memory floating in the back of my mind. I laughed about it later, kind of thought maybe it was the neighbour's TV through the wall, maybe my tired brain twisting shadows into sounds. Maybe nothing at all, because that's what we do, right? We explain things. We tell ourselves stories that make sense, things we can believe, things we can sleep with. But that night, that very first night, that was the start. The first time I heard it. The first quiet moment where everything changed. Because whatever that sound was, whatever it was practicing, whatever it was trying so hard to say, it wasn't done yet, not even close. After that first night, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe whatever I heard or imagined was just one of those weird late-night moments that happens when you're half asleep. But it wasn't. It came back. The very next night, same time, same feeling. That quiet press of stillness in my room, that dead, heavy silence you only get when it's way too late and the world outside feels like it doesn't even exist anymore. And then, that sound. Soft, slow, patient. It wasn't mumbling anymore, not completely. It wasn't words yet either. But it had changed, smoothed out a little. Focused. Like it wasn't just making noise now, like it was trying to shape something real, something specific. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, heart beating way too loud in the quiet, listening to whatever was out there or in here, practicing, repeating, failing, fixing, trying again and again. Most of the sounds were still warped, still strange, but buried under all of that, I caught something else, a sound I recognized, a letter, one single broken letter. Oh, soft, pulled long, like it was testing how that letter felt, how it sounded in the dark, like it didn't quite know how to get the rest out yet. But it would, eventually. That's when the chill really hit me, because O isn't just any sound, it's the first letter of my name, Oliver. And once you hear your name, even just a piece of it, coming from a place it absolutely shouldn't, you don't sleep the same after that. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence, a random sound, a shape of noise that only felt like something because I was tired, because I was looking for it. But the next night, it got worse. Oh, longer this time. Smoother than something else. Oh, almost like a question, like testing the shape of it, like whoever or whatever was out there was getting closer, getting better, getting ready. It didn't happen right away, not constant, but always the same pattern. Always after 3 a.m. Always when everything else was dead silent. Always when I was lying perfectly still, pretending not to notice. Pretending not to listen. But I was listening. Every single night, every single sound. And I knew one thing for sure now. It wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. Whatever that voice was, whatever was practicing outside my door, it was learning my name. And night after night, it was getting better. By the third night, I stopped trying to explain it away. It wasn't the neighbors, it wasn't the wind, it wasn't my imagination, it was real. And it was saying my name, bit by bit, clearer every time. So I did what anyone would do when they stop sleeping and start thinking too much. I set my phone to record. Voice memo app. Simple, no tricks, no filters. Just me, placing my phone on the nightstand next to my bed, hitting record and trying to sleep. If you could even call what I did sleeping. It was more like lying there, frozen, heart racing, ears straining for every tiny sound, every whisper, every pull of breath that didn't belong in my room. Morning came. The sun looked normal. The room looked normal. Everything looked like it always did. Except me. Because I didn't feel normal anymore. I sat there staring at my phone for a long time. Long enough to wonder if I even wanted to hear it. Long enough to wonder what would be worse. Hearing nothing. Or hearing something. And when I pressed play, it was something. The first hour was quiet. Just the creaks of the buildings settling. My breathing, nothing strange. But then, just after 3 a.m., there it was. Soft. Broken, patient, a voice. But it wasn't just whispering my name, it wasn't just repeating it like some ghostly echo. It was working on it, tearing it apart, rebuilding it, testing each piece. Lee. Then almost frustratingly it went back. Oh, Lee. Like it didn't like how it sounded, like it was correcting itself again and again, over and over. Working through the shape of my name like someone learning a new word for the first time. Careful, precise, too precise. Then came the part that really chilled me. It didn't stay at Oli, it started trying for more. Slow, harder sounds, the rest of my name. O, ver. Pause, wrong. O, ver. Closer. O, li, ver. Right, perfect. The way it said it at the end, quiet, proud, like someone solving a puzzle, like someone finally figuring out how to say it the way it wanted. My name, Oliver, said slowly, said perfectly, said like it owned it now. And in the silence that followed, in that long, horrible stretch of quiet after it got it right, I swear I could hear it smiling. I didn't sleep the next night, didn't even try. How could I? After hearing that recording, after listening to someone spend the entire night learning my name like it was preparing for something, like saying it right was important. Like saying it right changed everything. That night felt different the second the sun went down. The air in my room was heavy, thicker, too quiet, like even the walls were holding their breath. Waiting. I left the lights on. All of them. Stupid, maybe. Childish. But it felt worse in the dark now. Like darkness gave it power. Like darkness gave it confidence. And still 3 a.m. came anyway. I heard it before I even realized I was hearing it. Soft at first. Not from far away this time. Not muffled like through a wall or outside my window. Closer. Much closer. Too close. Oh, long, smooth, calm. Like stretching before saying something important. Then Oliver. Perfect. No struggle, no mistakes, clear, right next to me. But it wasn't coming from the corner, not from under the door, not from the ceiling. It was right next to my ear, right there. So close I could feel it, like breath. Except there wasn't any breath. No warmth, no realness, just that sound, sharp, precise. I froze. Every muscle locked. I didn't dare turn my head, didn't dare look. Because whatever was there, it was waiting. Waiting for me to hear what came next. And it did. Soft. Final. A whisper without effort, without fear, just certainty. Now I know you. Simple words. But they landed like ice down my spine. Because this wasn't curiosity anymore. This wasn't practice. This wasn't learning. This was knowing, claiming, finishing. I stayed awake until morning, lights on, eyes open, not moving, not sleeping. But somehow, I could still feel it. Right there. On the edge of the room. Silent now. Patient, like it didn't need to say anything else because it didn't have to find me anymore. It already had. My name is Nathan, and like a lot of people these days, I sleep with my phone right next to me. Always have. Old habit. It stays on the nightstand, right by my bed. Screen down. Silent mode. Charging overnight. Safe. Simple. Nothing strange about it. And for a long time, nothing ever happened. No weird glitches. No ghost calls. No strange notifications. Just a regular phone doing regular things. Until one morning, I was scrolling through my photos, looking for a meme I'd saved. And that's when I noticed them. Photos I didn't remember taking. At first I didn't think much of it. It happens, right? Accidental screenshots, pocket presses. Maybe I'd hit the camera button while half asleep, fumbling for the alarm. Totally normal. Totally forgettable. Except these weren't screenshots. These were pictures. From the front camera. And they were weird, really weird. Most of them were pitch black. Just empty darkness with maybe the faint glow of the ceiling light way off in the corner. But a few of them, they showed more. Blurry shapes, strange angles, the edge of my bed, a corner of the ceiling, the rough pattern of my blanket way too close to the lens, almost like the camera had been pointed around the room or at me while I slept. But that didn't make sense. I don't take pictures in my sleep. I don't even touch my phone once I set it down at night. I scrolled through more, checked the timestamps. Almost all of them were taken between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Way after I'd fallen asleep, way before I ever touched my phone again. I stared at one in particular, a blurry, crooked shot of the ceiling directly above my bed. Just the blank, boring white of the apartment ceiling. But it sent a chill down my spine anyway, because I didn't take that photo. I knew I didn't. And yet, there it was, sitting in my camera roll like it belonged there, like it was waiting to be found. I told myself it was nothing, just some weird phone bug. Maybe my pillow pressed a button somehow. Maybe I rolled over in just the right way to hit the screen. But the thing that stayed with me the most, the angles. Every single picture was facing the same direction. Facing me. Facing where I slept. Facing where my head always rested at night. Almost like something, or someone, had been holding my phone and watching me sleep. After that first discovery, I started checking my photos every morning. I didn't want to. Honestly, I hated doing it. But I couldn't stop myself either. Because every time I opened that camera roll, there were more. New photos. Always taken after 2 a.m. Always using the front camera. Always while I was asleep. At first, they stayed the same. Dark. Blurry. Nothing but random pieces of my room. The ceiling, the wall, the far edge of my bed. But then they started getting closer, bit by bit, night after night. Whatever was taking these pictures, it wasn't staying in one spot anymore. One morning I found a photo that stopped me cold. Not blurry, not dark, clear, sharp, and way too close. It was me, sleeping. My face half turned toward the phone, mouth slightly open like I always do when I'm out cold. And the angle? That was what really got me. Because the photo wasn't from the nightstand, not from the place where I always leave my phone. It was way too low, way too close, almost like the phone was hovering right in front of my face. My stomach dropped, hard, because I knew 100% where I had left my phone that night, far away on the little shelf across the room, nowhere near my bed. I did that on purpose, just to be safe, just to see, and yet, here it was. A picture taken like the phone had been inches from my face, right above me. Looking down, watching. That day I checked everything, checked my screen time, my camera settings, any apps that might have been open. Nothing. The camera hadn't been touched, no activity. No sign that anything had been used. But the photos were there, clear as day, closer every time. That's when I started to feel it. This wasn't just random anymore. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't me accidentally touching the screen. This was deliberate, careful. Step by step, like whoever or whatever was taking these pictures was getting braver, or closer, or both. I didn't sleep much that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was that last photo. That awful closeness, that impossible angle, and one horrible thought I couldn't shake. If my phone was supposed to be on the shelf, then who or what had been holding it over my face while I slept? That next night felt different, like something had shifted, like whatever was happening wasn't trying to hide anymore. Or maybe it didn't care if I saw. Maybe it wanted me to. I didn't go to bed right away. Spent hours just staring at my phone on the shelf across the room. Far from me. Far from the bed. Exactly where it should stay. Exactly where it couldn't move. Not without help. But I couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow morning there'd be new photos. Closer. Clearer. Worse. So I set up my second phone. Propped it up on a stack of books. Camera facing my nightstand. Focusing directly on the other phone. Simple plan. If anything moved that phone in the middle of the night, I'd catch it. Finally, sleep came late, light, uneasy. That kind of restless half-sleep where your body rests but your brain stays on full alert. And even through that haze, somewhere deep in the night, I thought I heard it. A tiny scrape, soft, slow. Something sliding across wood. But by then I was too far gone to wake fully. Too heavy to move. Too late to stop anything. Morning, grey light. Heavy air. My room exactly how I left it. Both phones right where they should be. Like nothing happened. Like always. But when I picked up my first phone, my stomach dropped. There it was. New photo. Taken sometime around 3 a.m. Same angle, same horrifying closeness. Right over my face. Eyes closed. Dead asleep. But this time I had video. I opened it slowly. Hands shaking. Told myself maybe, just maybe, there'd be nothing there. Maybe the phone slipped. Maybe vibration. Maybe gravity. Maybe anything. But the video played, silent, still, for hours, nothing. Then right at 2:57 a.m, movement. From the edge of the frame, the darkest part of the wall near the floor. A shape, small at first. Gliding into view, a hand, not mine, not possible. Long, thin, pale like candle wax left too long in the cold. Fingers, too many of them, moving slow. Careful, like it had all the time in the world. It reached up, wrapped around my phone, lifted it gently, almost respectfully, turned the screen toward my bed, paused, waited. Then, click. Flash from the front camera. The photo I found that morning. Then, the worst part, it placed the phone back. Neat, precise. Sliding it back across the shelf like nothing had happened. Like it had done this 1,000 times before. Like it planned to do it 1,000 more. I stared at the screen for a long time. Longer than I should have. And one thought kept looping in my head, over and over. That wasn't me. That wasn't my hand. That wasn't anything human. After that video, I didn't really know what to do anymore. I mean, what do you do? What do you do when you catch something like that? When you see it? When it's not just in your head anymore? Not a dream, not a glitch, not imagination. Real, recorded, undeniable. I didn't tell anyone, didn't send it to friends, didn't post it online because somehow this didn't feel like something I wanted to share. This felt personal, direct. Like it wasn't just about a weird thing happening in my room. It was about me, about whoever or whatever was watching me, learning me, getting closer. That night, I didn't set up the second camera, didn't check anything, didn't record. I just placed my phone on the shelf like always and sat in bed, awake, waiting, listening to the quiet press against the walls. And at some point, I must have fallen asleep anyway, because morning came. Grey light creeping through the blinds, cold. Still, everything looked normal, everything looked fine, except for me. Because I knew before I even touched my phone, I knew there would be a new photo. And when I opened my camera roll, it was there, waiting. But this time, it wasn't like before. It wasn't me sleeping. It wasn't some angle hovering over my face. It wasn't distant. It wasn't hidden. It was me, looking straight into the camera, eyes wide open, blank, empty, like I'd been staring at the lens for hours, like I'd been aware the whole time. But here's the thing. I have no memory of that. None. I never woke up, never sat up, never reached. There I was, captured, frozen, looking dead into the lens like something else had been holding me there, or holding my body there, while I stayed asleep somewhere far, far behind my own eyes. And that wasn't even the worst part, because in the very bottom corner of the photo, barely visible, small, almost like a watermark burned into the image, was a line of text. Simple, quiet, soft, but impossible to miss once you saw it. Wake up. 2 words. That's all. No threat, no explanation, no sound, just sitting there. Waiting, like a final message, like a warning, like an instruction. Wake up. And I don't know if it meant I needed to wake up now, or if it meant I haven't yet. My name is Liam, and I'm the kind of person who notices small things, little details, little changes. Living alone does that to you, I guess. When it's just you and your stuff, you know exactly how things are supposed to look. Exactly how many things are supposed to be there. Exactly what belongs and what doesn't. My apartment isn't big. Simple 1 bedroom, small kitchen, tiny bathroom, and in that bathroom right next to the sink is a small ceramic cup. Inside that cup, my toothbrush, just one, always the same blue and white toothbrush I've had for months. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just mine. That's why I noticed it so fast. It happened on a random morning, nothing special. Wake up, shower, brush my teeth. Except this time, when I reached for my toothbrush, there were two toothbrushes sitting in the cup, side by side like they'd always been there. I froze, stared at them for a good few seconds, frowned because I absolutely knew I only owned one, always have. Blue and white, same brand, same style. But now there was another one. A red and white toothbrush. Warm looking. Old even, like it had been used for a while, like it didn't belong to me at all. I stood there for a minute, half laughing to myself, trying to come up with a reason, a story. Maybe I bought 2 and forgot. Maybe I accidentally grabbed an extra during my last grocery run. Maybe, somehow, I've just never noticed it sitting there. Except, no, that didn't make sense, because I live alone. Nobody stays here. Nobody uses my bathroom but me. And if someone had used it, I would know. I would definitely know. But still, it was just a toothbrush, right? Just a tiny, stupid, harmless thing. Nothing scary about it, nothing worth freaking out over. So I did what anyone would do. I left it, figured I'd throw it out later. Maybe after work, maybe tomorrow. What's the rush? It's not like it was doing anything. But standing there, looking at those 2 toothbrushes side by side, I couldn't shake the weirdest thought. Not fear, not panic. Just this quiet, creeping question I didn't really want to answer. Where did this one come from? I should have thrown it out. That's what I keep telling myself now, that old toothbrush, that red and white one, the one that definitely wasn't mine. I should have just picked it up, walked it straight to the trash and forgotten about it. Simple. Easy. End of story. But I didn't. Not right away, because it was just weird enough to bother me. But not scary enough to feel urgent. You know that feeling? Where something feels off but not dangerous? Where your brain keeps saying, deal with it later. And so you do. You leave it there, you go about your day, you forget. Until you can't. The next few mornings passed the same way. Wake up, bathroom, 2 toothbrushes in the cup, side by side, mine, blue and white, and the other one. Old. Worn. A little dirtier every day, or maybe I was just noticing it more. The bristles started looking rougher, spread out, frayed at the ends like it had been used way too hard for way too long. But I still left it there, still told myself I'd toss it soon, still didn't. Then one night, I got home late. Long day, tired, didn't think much. Went into the bathroom and stopped cold. Because now, something had changed. Something I couldn't laugh off. Something tiny, but huge. The toothbrushes were still in the cup, but their positions were different. Wrong. Very wrong. That old red and white toothbrush, it wasn't sitting to the side anymore. It wasn't tucked behind mine. It was in front, right in the middle, right where I always left my toothbrush. Perfectly centered, perfectly placed, like it knew. Like it wanted that spot. And my toothbrush, blue and white, clean, new, shoved off to the side, almost like an afterthought, like it didn't belong there anymore. I didn't touch them, didn't move anything, just stared, longer than I should have. Felt that awful cold little twist in my stomach, that feeling that says this isn't random, this isn't an accident, this is on purpose. Something about it felt personal, too personal, like whatever had put that toothbrush there wasn't just leaving it, wasn't just forgetting it. It was claiming space, slowly, quietly, like it had time, like it could wait. And standing there staring at that old ugly toothbrush sitting dead center in my bathroom, right where mine should have been, I realized something I really didn't like thinking about. It's not just sitting there anymore. It's replacing me. I didn't touch it. Not for days. The red and white toothbrush stayed in that cup, and every morning it felt like it was just a little more settled, a little more comfortable in that spot, front and center, like it belonged there, like it had always belonged there. Meanwhile, mine, the blue and white one, it just looked more out of place, more forgotten, pushed off to the side, barely hanging on, like it was waiting for me to do something, throw the other one away, or maybe give up. But I didn't. I didn't touch either of them, didn't move them, didn't even like looking at them anymore. Until one morning, everything changed. It was early, barely light out. Half asleep, I walked to the bathroom, rubbing my eyes, not even thinking about the stupid toothbrush situation anymore. I looked at the cup, expecting to see the usual two, mine and its, side by side. But there was only one, just one toothbrush sitting there, right in the middle, perfect, centered, alone. And it wasn't mine. The red and white toothbrush. Old. Worn. Familiar now in the worst possible way. But definitely not the one I bought. Definitely not the one I'd been using. My toothbrush was gone. Completely. No sign of it. No explanation. Just gone. I stared at that ugly old thing sitting in its perfect little spot like it had finally won. Like the other one had never existed. Like this had always been its place. But then I saw it. Something I hadn't noticed before. Something carved into the handle. Faint. Almost too faint to see unless you were looking closely. A name. Scratched in clumsy little letters. Barely readable. Old, faded. But still there, and it wasn't my name. Not even close. I leaned in. Heart weirdly loud in my chest, trying to read it, trying to make sense of something that already felt too far gone to explain. The name was Thomas Reed. I didn't know any Thomas Reed. Never met anyone with that name. Definitely didn't lend my toothbrush to anyone named Thomas Reed. But for some reason, I Googled it. Right there in my bathroom. Right there with that toothbrush staring back at me like it was waiting. And that's when my stomach dropped. Because Thomas Reed, that name did mean something. He was a guy, mid-30s in this building, this exact building, years ago, until he went missing. Until one day, he just disappeared, without a trace. And now, his name was sitting in my bathroom on a toothbrush, right where mine used to be. That day, I didn't hesitate. I didn't care about how weird it felt. I didn't care how stupid it looked. I just wanted that thing gone. That red and white toothbrush with Thomas Reed's name scratched into it. Gone. Out of my apartment. Out of my life. Far, far away. I grabbed it without even thinking. Didn't look at it long. Didn't let myself. Walked straight down the hall, past my front door, past the elevator, all the way outside, to the big trash bin behind the building. Lifted the lid, dropped it in, closed it, done. Finished, gone. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, I felt better, lighter, safer, like I'd done the right thing. That night, I slept better than I had in a long time. No weird feelings, no strange thoughts, just quiet, just me, just peace, until morning. I woke up slow, stretching, yawning, feeling that rare kind of relief that comes after doing something final, after taking control, after making a choice. But the second I stepped into the bathroom, that feeling shattered, because sitting in the cup next to my sink was a toothbrush. Not old, not worn, not red and white. It was new. Perfect, clean, fresh like it had just come out of the packaging. The same brand I always bought, same blue and white design, same everything. But this one had something extra. Carved neatly into the handle. Clear, sharp, fresh. My name, Liam. And right underneath the cup, folded small. Waiting, like it had been placed there very carefully, was a piece of paper. Plain, simple, with just 5 words written on it. Every spot gets filled. That was it. No threat, no warning. Just fact. Just a rule. A quiet little truth about this place, about how things work here. Every spot gets filled, no empty spaces, no missing pieces. I stood there for a long time, looking at that brand new toothbrush with my name on it, in my cup, in my bathroom, in my life. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if it was even mine anymore. My name is Mason, and for most of my life I never thought much about mirrors. Nobody really does. Mirrors are just there, part of the background, part of your routine. Brush your teeth, wash your face, check your hair, move on. Simple, automatic, harmless, especially when you live alone. Especially when it's just you, your tiny bathroom and the mirror hanging above your sink. Always the same, always predictable, always safe. Until one night, it wasn't. It started small. The kind of thing your brain almost misses, almost explains away, almost lets you forget. Almost. It was late, way later than I usually stayed up. One of those nights where you lose track of time scrolling on your phone. Next thing you know, it's 2:30 a.m. Eyes dry, mind foggy, everything too quiet. I got up to wash my face. Same routine, same bathroom, same mirror. I didn't notice anything at first. Not until I bent down to splash water on my face and stood up again. And for half a second, barely even that, something felt wrong. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. A little jerk, a little twitch. Like the reflection the mirror had moved just a little too early, just before me. Not after, not with me, but ahead, leading, like it knew I was about to move before I did. I froze, stared straight into the mirror, heart suddenly loud in my chest for no real reason. Told myself I imagined it, too tired, too distracted, just shadows playing tricks. Just laggy eyes, but something about it stuck. Bugged me, pulled at the back of my mind, so I stood there, still, watching, waiting. The reflection stayed perfectly still, perfectly normal, matching me exactly. But the longer I stared, the worse it felt, not because it looked wrong, but because it looked too right, too still, too patient, like it wasn't copying me anymore, like it was waiting, watching. Ready. Ready for what? I didn't know. I didn't want to know. So I turned off the light, walked out. Went straight to bed, told myself I was being ridiculous, just tired, just nothing. But that little glitch, that tiny mistake, never really left my head. That split second where my reflection had moved without me, ahead of me, leading me. And somehow, I knew that was just the start. After that night, I stopped trusting the mirror. Not completely. Not in some dramatic horror movie way. I still used it. Still stood there every morning, brushing my teeth, washing my face, shaving, routine. Normal. Automatic. But there was this new layer now. This quiet, sharp awareness sitting at the back of my neck every time I looked up, every time my eyes met my own in the glass, waiting for it to happen again, waiting for that tiny glitch, that tiny mistake. And then one night, it did. It wasn't even late this time, maybe just past midnight. Quiet, still. I walked into the bathroom like always, flipped the light on, stared at myself like I always did, and that's when I saw it. Small, quick, but real. My reflection blinked, before me, just slightly, just enough, like it was practicing being me and messing up. I tested it, blinking hard, slow, careful, trying to see if it would happen again, trying to see if it would lag behind, like it's supposed to. But it didn't. The timing was off. Not every time, just sometimes, but enough to notice, enough to feel it. And once I saw that, I started seeing more. Little things, tiny differences, the way it tilted its head just before I did, the way it seemed to shift its weight, a fraction of a second early. Like muscle memory in reverse, not copying me, but predicting me, leading me. The worst was when I tried standing completely still, just staring, unmoving, for minutes, for what felt like forever. Testing it, waiting, seeing how long it would hold. Most nights it stayed perfect, still, flat, safe. But one night it broke. I was standing there, eyes locked, frozen, heart steady but heavy. And then my reflection moved, just a little, a tiny shake of its head, like disappointment, like it was tired of waiting. And then it smiled, barely, softly. A small, slow pull at the corner of its mouth, not wide, not crazy, just enough. Enough to freeze every part of me except my brain screaming quietly, "Nope, no way, that's not me." I turned the light off, fast. Closed the door, stood in the hallway breathing too hard for what should have been nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Not anymore. Whatever was in that mirror, it wasn't just following me. It was watching me, studying me. And maybe it was getting tired of just watching. By then, I'd stopped pretending this was in my head. Whatever was happening with that mirror, it was real. Real enough that I started avoiding the bathroom at night, brushing my teeth early, leaving the door shut, leaving the light off, just staying away. Safe distance, safe rules, don't look, don't stare, don't give it attention. But rules only work until curiosity breaks them, and I broke mine. It was late, stupid late, almost 3 a.m., the hour where everything feels heavier, where silence presses harder against your skin, where every shadow feels like it's leaning just a little too close. I stood outside the bathroom door, phone in my hand, thumb hovering over the flashlight, breathing way too slow for something this simple. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. Nothing about this felt like it used to. I turned the light on, not the room light, just my phone, soft, weak, focused, pointing straight at the mirror. At first, nothing. Just me, just my reflection, exactly how it should be, standing where I stood, still, safe, predictable. But the longer I stayed, the longer I watched, the less okay it felt, because I wasn't moving, at all. And neither was the thing in the mirror. But the difference now? It wasn't copying me. It wasn't waiting for me to move first. It was looking at me, really looking. Not the distant, disconnected look of your own reflection, but eye contact, direct, alive, focused, like it had finally decided I was worth its full attention. Then it happened. Slow, deliberate, controlled. The figure in the mirror shifted, not wild, not fast, just one step forward, then another. Closer, closer still, until its face was right there, right up against the glass, right where mine should have been. But I was still standing back, feet frozen, breathing shallow, watching it watch me. Its mouth moved, tiny, careful, not loud enough for sound, just the shape of words being formed, being chosen, being said, and even without hearing it, I knew exactly what it said. 4 words, soft, precise, final, I see you. Not angry, not scary, just simple, awful, a fact. It saw me, really saw me, not as a reflection, not as a shadow, but as me, standing outside the mirror, while it stood inside for now. I didn't sleep much after that night. Can't blame me, right? How do you sleep after something like that? After standing there, frozen, watching your own reflection step closer, watching it look at you, like it's not your reflection anymore, like it's something else, like it knows you now. And worse, like it's waiting. I didn't go near the mirror again that night, turned off the flashlight, closed the door, left the bathroom in the dark, pretended that if I didn't look, it couldn't look back. But morning always comes, whether you want it to or not. Sunlight spilling in, making everything feel softer, less dangerous, less sharp. Almost like the night didn't happen at all. Almost. Until I walked into the bathroom, until I looked at the mirror, until I saw it. Right there. Plain as day, clear as glass, a handprint, pressed flat against the inside of the mirror. Not smudged, not oily like from the outside, but clean, sharp, detailed enough to see every thin line of a palm, every space between fingers, wide, too long. And right beside it, a scratch. No, not a scratch, a drag. A line clawed deep down the inside of the glass, thin at the top, breaking deeper toward the bottom, like nails being pulled slowly. Carefully, like someone or something had been trying to mark its way out, or leave a message. And under that line was writing, small, precise, etched so faintly into the fog of the mirror, but once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it ever. Your turn. 2 words. That's it. No threat, no yelling, no rush, just calm, certain, final. Your turn. Your turn to do what? To come closer? To step into the mirror? To take its place? Or worse, to trade places? I stood there for a long time, longer than I want to admit, just staring, not moving, not thinking, just letting those words sink in. Because somehow, somewhere deep in the cold part of my stomach, I already knew. Whatever I saw that night, whatever looked at me, whatever stepped closer, smiling so quietly, it wasn't going to stop. Not until I stood right where it wanted me, right where it waited, right where it whispered, your turn.